Hello, my dear friends, and warm welcome. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me on this first day of our 7-week Breath of Life Pranayama journey. I am so grateful that you are here to join me and on this project and to learn about the many wonderful benefits of pranayama, of breath works, because this is such an accessible tool. It is that magic switch that we all have access to. And so I'm so happy to be able to share this journey with you together. And first of all, let me just introduce myself. My name is Eunice. I hope that for most of you who have come onto this channel, maybe it's from my personal invitation, and I hope that there are maybe friends that have shared this link with you, or you're finding me on YouTube. Whichever way, warm welcome. I am Eunice. I am based in Aix-en-Provence. I teach Kundalini Yoga, as well as I do sound healing and trainings on alchemy crystal singing bowls. But on this series, we're going to focus purely on the breath. And so this Breath of Life series, as you've seen in the intro video, is dedicated to our friend Amos, who joined us at the London retreat this summer and have found that this practice of pranayama and breathworks is such a accessible and deeply rewarding experience. And shortly after that retreat, unfortunately, he passed away from a heart condition. And so this whole project I'm dedicating for him. There's a fundraising link in the comments here for you to participate, to support his young family. Whatever you feel comfortable to share, will be so very grateful. And so in order for you to continue to be part of this journey and participate in our weekly pranayama practice and get all the notifications from the new episodes upload, please subscribe to the channel. That will help me tremendously to keep you posted, as well as create content that will support you and on your journey. And when I get enough followers on this channel, I get to connect with you live so that you can ask me questions. We can have a conversation live together through YouTube here. So let me just explain to you how we carry out these weekly practices. I will spend some time, maybe 10-20 minutes, to explain to you the concepts that we are talking about in each session. And then I will put a timestamp so that you can come back to just the practice part for the day, that you can come back to again and again throughout the whole week. And whenever you want to come back to them, you will have access to them all the time, and you can come straight to just the practice sessions. The practice portion might be a few minutes, 10 minutes to 20 minutes. It's something that I want to offer for you that is accessible. It doesn't require a whole lot of time, and it's totally doable to squeeze a few minutes a day to just breathe. So that's how we're going to do. And week after week, there will be different topics, but still relating, coming back to pranayama practices. And of course, if you have any questions during any of these practices, feel free to make a comments, and I will try my best to answer to you in words, or explain it in the next sessions if I can get to them. So let's begin today's session. I want to first explain to you this very powerful understanding of breath works. So in yogic tradition, we have this word called pranayama. Prana is the essential life force, and yama means the control or restraint. So the practice of pranayama is actually the controlling or diverting our breath, our life force. So when we are able to control and really consciously breathe, it's not really so much as in needing to manipulate the breath, but more that we are conscious of it. So when we're conscious of it, we know what we're doing in our breath, and that helps us to access and connect with this life force that even when we're not paying attention, we are being breathed in each moment, right? We don't have to think about it. Yet when we do, and when we connect with this motion and attention and awareness of our breathing, we access a much deeper layer into this life force that is part of us. We are completely connected to it, and we're never deprived of it. And so there's such a magical connection between life force and our breath. And just some numbers and information for you. Actually, our breathing, when you have a certain pace of breathing, it's actually related to your longevity. So first off, before I give you those numbers, I would invite you to just simply maybe close your eyes or simply get aware and pay attention to your breathing. So we're going to play something here. I'm going to give you a timer for 1 minute, and I want you to, from this counting of the minute, count how many breaths you're having in that 1 minute. So one breath will be an inhale and an exhale. That's one breath, and the next. Okay, so try not to control it and just do it as you normally would do. And we can count that 1 minute now. So at your own pace, just maybe close your eyes so that you can concentrate on your breathing. So often in our daily lives, we're really not paying attention to our breathing, right? Yes, it is just breath in and breath out, and we are not really sure or conscious that we're doing it, and it seems so effortless. And so sometimes you may ask, so why do I have to even take care of the breathing? Well, I hope today I will be able to explain as much as possible why we want to pay attention and be conscious about our breathing. So, and stop. So in that 1 minute, perhaps you can have numbers approximately the number of breaths that you have. So as a reference point for you, we normally have about 15 breaths per minute, okay? If you have a lot more breaths in it, so maybe your breaths are much more shallow, and so you have more repetitions of breath within 1 minute. Whereas if you take longer breaths, the inhale and exhale are longer, actually you have fewer breaths a minute. And so actually the number of breaths per minute, like in average of course, is actually related to our longevity. the longer breaths you have, that means the fewer breaths you have per minute, means that you have a longer lifespan. And if you have more breaths per minute, it means your breaths are shallower, it actually reduces your longevity. So for once, this is already important to pay attention. And the practice of pranayama helps you to learn to slow down your breathing, actually. And today we're going to explain the very different kind of mechanics of breathing so that you can learn to expand your lung capacity, the way that you breathe, and understand the very biology and physiology of your body and your breath. And when you start to pay attention and connect with your breath, it brings you to magical places. It brings, first of all, in a very simple way, maybe a lot of you might have heard of the vagus nerve. This is the biggest nerve in our body that is connecting from the lower body to the upper body, and it runs through the front of our chest. And the vagus nerve actually is kind of that switch of telling our body to go from the sympathetic nervous system, which is what we know to call it the fight and flight mode, to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and repair and replenish mode. So when we slow down our breathing, we access this very natural state of our body to relax so that our body can repair and replenish itself. So this is one thing that's really important, and it's so accessible when we just start to pay attention to our breathing. So we are going to go through a few mechanics of these breathing techniques. So just the first of all would be a wonderful way is how we are starting with abdominal breathing. Abdominal breathing may not be a very habitual way that you are breathing currently. I hope that by this course today, you get to practice and more get familiar. And actually, because in our yoga practices and actually in your daily life, this is the most nourishing breathing technique or ways to breathe. So how do I sense it? How do we do it? So you can just come seated. So before I dive in, I can explain to you that yes, there are ideal setup that I recommend for these practices, right? You see that I'm not in yoga clothing. You just need to be comfortable. Whatever you're wearing, you can breathe in. To be comfortable in, that's perfect already. And you don't need to be cross-legged. You don't need to be even on the floor. You can be seated on a chair. And for most of the practices later on, I do recommend that you have perhaps a cushion that you get. This is a buckwheat cushion that I have, and it's quite large, so I can feel very stable with my sit bones firmly planted in the cushion, and that your spine is tall and straight. This is the ideal position that I would recommend for you to practice. If you're not comfortable with knees, with your being cross-legged, you can put cushion underneath. You can use the straddle position so that you have the cushion in between and you just kind of fold your knees like that. And as I said, you are most welcome to be seated on a chair with feet planted on the ground. So, but as I said, don't let any cushion, setup, mat, chair, don't let anything get in the way of your practice. You can be seated on a metro, on a bus, and you can still practice because you have access to your breath all the time. So don't let anything be an excuse to not practice, okay? So first of all, to just start to sense what is abdominal breathing, you can very well put your hands on your belly and sense how your belly can move as you inhale and exhale. So what we want to sense is that your belly expands as you breathe in. And as you exhale, the belly goes towards your spine. Maybe first of all, sense it as a very natural, gentle breathing without forcing anything. And just feel into that movement. If this is not very evident for you, or you don't feel it and you're not really comfortable in this, what I recommend you to do is actually laying on the floor with your tummy down. So you may not be able to see much of movement from my body, but you can sense it when you try it on your own. So you can put the hands in front of your forehead so you have a cushion, and just as you inhale, try to feel how your belly is expanding. It almost like move your back up. And as you exhale, your body collapses back onto the floor. So just try a few rounds of this. Feeling that force of your belly expanding, lifting your spine away from the floor. And as it contracts, it relaxes back down to the floor. So let me just explain to you what's happening here. What we are trying to do with abdominal breathing is actually also called diaphragmatic breathing. So as we expand the belly, your diaphragm is actually stretched down into the cavity of your abdominal. And so your lungs get to expand so the air can go to the tips of your lungs. And the tips of your lung, the lower lungs, are actually where you have more air sacs. There are more exchange of oxygen at the tips of your lungs. So if you keep your breathing shallow and just always up here, and it doesn't get to those deeper corners of your lungs, then that full exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide doesn't get completed. And so, and it's not the most efficient breathing when you're just breathing up here. So in order for a clean breath, it's actually a deep breath where you expand your belly so that your diaphragm drops down, your lungs get to fill up with air, and as you exhale, you pull the belly button towards the spine, and then your diaphragm is actually pulling up and squeezing air out from your lungs. And so let's try that a few rounds in the seated position, putting your hands on your belly and just breathing in, expanding the belly. And maybe the most natural ways is actually do a deep exhale, pulling the belly towards your spine. See, and feel how your hands are going towards your spine. And now breathe in, expanding the belly, exhaling, pulling the belly in. And interestingly, as we breathe this way, you just can't help but do it kind of slowly, right? You just have to slow down and be conscious that I am expanding the belly and my lungs, and I'm exhaling, emptying from the tummy. So this is the abdominal breathing, right? And this alone is such a great practice. Just if you have 2-3 minutes a day, if you just wake up and just sit up, spine tall, bring your hands to your belly and just take a few deep breaths, deep abdominal breath. Feeling that fulfillment and that filling up feeling. And then exhaling, pulling the belly in towards the spine. This immediately tells your nervous system that you're safe, you're grounded, you can relax, so that it knows to switch on that repair and replenish mode. So I want to explain to you the next type of breathing, just so you understand that there is the thoracic breathing as well, which it's the part where I tell you that this is the shallow. This is the where you're breathing through mostly your mid lungs, okay? And this is necessary to explain so you understand. And then actually it helps you to, for some exercises, sometimes when you do need to increase the capacity of your lung, you do need to come into thoracic breathing, right? But what we want to do is actually just be aware. You can put your hands around your ribs. So this is breathing that involves a lot of your rib cage instead of your belly, right? So inhaling, try to expand, push against your hands as you inhale. This inevitably have to expand your rib cage sideways and all the way to the back as well. And as you exhale, you find that your ribs are coming closer. It's really this breathing movement of the rib cage that goes in and out. Now, sometimes as we are catching our breath we will use more of our thoracic breathing. But we are going to put all of these breathing together into the practice for today. So the last bit of the breathing is actually all the way up to the clavicle here. So this breathing techniques is actually sometimes when we get nervous, when maybe a shock, it comes naturally. That very shallow, but where our shoulders will lift up, the clavicles also move up, and it's just like expanding a little bit more to the upper lungs. So this is not something that you need to practice. You just need to feel that, okay, well, that's the last bit of that if I want to really fill up my lungs. Okay, so what we are going to do in the practice today is to build up all of this into what we call the yogic breathing. So let's do it. So whatever comfortable positions that you're going to be in, as long as you keep your spine upright and engaged. Because if you're slouching back in on a sofa or on a chair, leaning against something, then you don't get access to this full volume to your abdominal, to your chest. So we want to give it space to practice. So the practice today is very simple, which is called the yogic breathing. And what we want to do is actually the inhale is inhale first to the abdominal, and then we fill up the mid lungs, expanding the rib cage. And then you keep going and you inhale all the way up to the top of your lungs, to the clavicles, to like your shoulders is almost expanding as well. So you're filling up all the way, and that's filling up all the way almost up to your chin. And that's your inhale. And as you exhale, the process is reversed. So we exhale and we relax the shoulder, we relax the clavicle, we empty from the upper lungs, then your mid lungs, your rib cage reduced, and then you empty from the belly. So it's lower lungs, abdominal expanding, lower lungs, mid lungs, upper lungs, inhaling all the way filling up and exhaling, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the upper chest, the rib cage, tucking the belly towards the spine, emptying from the stomach. And that's one complete cycle. And so practice today is just 10 rounds of this conscious breathing, that you are in control and witnessing and observing and being consciously aware of your breathing, of where it's going. And the more you practice, the more you can just slowly pay attention, follow the breath going into your nostril, down the airway, and feeling it, filling up your lungs, filling up your belly. And then exhaling, emptying, relaxing from here, relaxing, reducing, emptying, and emptying all the way from the belly. Okay, so let's start. You can just let your palms be open on the side, or if you like to feel the movement so that you're more conscious of it, you can put one hand on your heart, one hand on your tummy, so that you feel that movement and be more connected to that breath. You can keep your eyes open or closed as you like. So let's begin. Inhaling, expanding your belly, and then your lower lungs, opening up the rib cage all the way to the shoulders, and exhaling, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the upper chest, the rib cage, and emptying from the lower belly. And again, inhale, expanding the belly, letting the diaphragm drop, feeling the rib cage, the lungs, and all the way up to the shoulders, and exhaling through the chest, through the mid lungs, and through the lower lungs, through all the way in the tummy. And now, coming forward, I want you to pay attention not only the front side of your body, but also the back side of your body. So as we inhale, feeling that not only just the front of your belly is expanding, but like all the way to the lower back. Let all the, like in 3 dimension, let it expand. Expand the front of your rib cage and also the back of your rib cage, filling up the back of your shoulders as well. Just increasing that volume of your lungs and breathing in all the way to the shoulders, all the way up to the chin, and exhaling, feeling like a balloon just deflating from the chest, from the diaphragm, all the way down to the belly, pulling the belly button towards the spine. It's like a reducing of the movement. And let's continue. And even as I ask you to pull your belly back to your spine in your exhale, your muscles are relaxed. There's no tensions, there's no forcing necessary. So, breathing in, filling up like a balloon, and allow the movement to become more and more fluid. And exhaling from the upper chest, the mid lungs, and the lower belly. And inhaling, expanding into, like breathing into the space around you as well. Exhaling. And now, as you continue this breathing movement, so inhaling again. At the top of your inhale, just take a little pause there. And exhale. And a little pause at the end of your exhale as well. And continue that fluid movement. And slowly you become more conscious of this breathing, and you are just not really needing to control anything. You are simply flowing with that breath. Dissolving into that movement, into a deep, relaxed state. Last 2. Feeling up like you're really expanding into the space all around you. And pause. And exhale, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing like a blanket of relaxation, just washing over you from the top all the way down to your abdomen. And pause in that emptiness. And the last round. And exhaling, relaxing first the shoulders, the chest, the rib cage all the way down to the belly. And as you complete this 10 cycles, invite that you just take a moment to come back to your natural breathing and just take a few moments for yourself. Just sensing into what you're feeling right now. How's your body, your mind, feeling the power of this conscious breathing, how it just calm your whole nervous system, allow your mind to get clearer, allow your emotions to settle, allow your body to relax and replenish itself. So I hope you enjoy this first practice that we shared together in this 7-week Breath of Life Pranayama journey. Next week, we will move on to something different, something maybe more dynamic. And I would love to hear any comments and questions that you have. How is this serving you? What have you been noticing as you practice throughout the week? Finding the few minutes to just come back home to yourself. Because the moment you're born, you take that first breath. And that breath never ceases, it continues. So now you are more connected and aware. So throughout the day, just observe and notice how you're breathing. Are you up here? Are you using it all the way down to your abdomen? And now you can start to sense where, if there's any kind of constriction in your body, where it feels like there isn't enough breath into it. Now you can start to direct your attention and your life force to it. So thank you for joining me today. Again, please subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss it when we post the next video for the practice of the 7-week journey. And feel free to make a comment and ask any questions that you have. And I am so looking forward to connecting with you again next week. Keep practicing, keep breathing. Namaste.